you have to give a ton of credit to this coaching staff for their ability to go find those recruits who are diamonds in the rough and make them into really, really good football players. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Jacob Parrish, recruited by nobody. Keenan Garber, former receiver who wasn't ever going to be anything in that position group, starting now. Marquise Siegel, FCS corner. Jordan Riley, Mac safety. Austin Romaine, starting middle linebacker, recruited by nobody. Des Purnell, recruited by nobody. That's what this team is made up of guys who had no recruiting interest or very little recruiting interest. Our staff sees the promise in them, gets them to come to K-State, and develops them into really, really good Big 12 football players.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
Hello, and welcome to another 3-Maw bonus edition. I am your host, Cole Manbeck, joined, as always, by Curry Sexton, former Wildcat wide receiver and partner at Wildcat NIL, and we are here to break down the Wildcats' 31-28 thrilling victory at Colorado that gets Kansas State to 5-1 on the season and 2-1 in Big 12 play. We're going to get Curry's thoughts on the game. As always, we're going to talk a little bit of Wildcat NIL as we usually do as well. And then everybody's favorite segment will once again return by popular demand. We're going to keep doing this as we will do the All-22 film review with Curry as we dissect and break down 6 different plays during the game, including the 2 game-winning plays on the final drive of the game where Kansas State took the 31-28 lead. So always enjoy that segment and getting Curry's expert analysis on that. So if you are listening on the audio channels, also be sure to check out the YouTube channel so you can watch as we break down and dissect those plays. Plus, we have a really cool still image photo of Jace Brown's catch that we're going to show to you as well when we break down Jace Brown's 50-yard, what it proved to be the game-winning eventual touchdown. So stay tuned for that, as always. And as always, get stocked up with your holiday distillery products, including Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. We actually have a tailgate with Holiday Distillery coming for the Kansas game here in about 11 days. More to come on that, but 3-Maw will be doing in KCSN a tailgate with Holiday Distillery. So be sure to go check that out. And also, we'll talk about this as well, but check out the Wildcat NIL tailgate. Holiday Distillery was over at that for the Arizona game earlier this year. Just tremendous K-State-owned company, K-Staters own Holiday Distillery. They support the Cats and have partnered with us, with Wildcat NIL, and a lot of other ventures supporting Kansas State. So go support the fine folks over at Holiday Distillery. Go get stocked up with some Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon. I can tell you guys we were drinking some Ben Holiday Bottled and Bond Bourbon during the game on Saturday night. Some of my neighbors came over and they were enjoying a bottle with me as well as we watched the Cats knock off Colorado in Boulder. So with that being said, Curry, what's the latest happenings with Wildcat NIL? What can you tell us what's going on in the NIL space right now?
Yeah, so really, in a lot of ways, status quo, just, continuing to raise funds and try to help these coaches out. Now, I will say, obviously, unless you live under a rock, you're aware that here recently a large class action settlement has been preliminarily approved by a judge out in the Northern District of California. In that case, assuming the settlement gets finally and fully approved next spring, is going to affect some pretty significant changes on the current landscape of college athletics and the current landscape of NIL in college athletics. And so that as most people know it, the House case, that settlement is going to probably sometime starting next July or August, is going to permit/require schools to begin to share revenue with their student athletes. And the year one figure for that revenue share is going to be somewhere in the $22 to $23 million range. And so that's obviously a huge, it's a huge change for athletics departments who have always operated at a, basically earn no net income at the end of the year, or most, in fact, lose quite a bit of money. And so now all of a sudden you've got to manage a massive $22 million new line item while also, operating on thin margins already. So we're doing, when I say status quo, I say that because generally from a public facing perspective, that's how things are. But behind the scenes, doing a ton of work alongside K-State to make sure that we're putting ourselves in a position to succeed on the NIL front when we get to that revenue sharing phase, and to make sure that, hey, over the course of the next 8, 9, 10 months, we've got good structures, good processes in place. So we're managing this transitional period the right way. Because you're going to see a lot of schools over the course of the next 8, 9, 10 months who don't have the right structures in place and who don't manage this transition well, and they're going to pay for it. They're not get, because if they don't have the right processes in place for this transitional period, they're going to lose out on recruits. They're going to have guys leave because they're not handling it the right way. And I feel very, very confidently that we're in a really good spot at K-State. And so that's really been the focus of our efforts the last couple of months now is getting our structures, our processes in a good spot, so that when National Signing Day period, early signing day comes for basketball next month, and then when the transfer portal opens in December and early signing period opens up in the middle part of December, we're ready, and our coaches have something to communicate to these athletes, and these athletes can be assured that when they come to K-State, there is going to be a good structure in place so that there's money there from let's say January to July. And then when the revenue sharing dollars kicks in, there's going to be a plan for that transition as well. So a lot going on behind the scenes. But I would say, I guess, just for now, just keep supporting K-State, keep supporting Wildcat NIL, however you deem fit for you. Obviously, there's our fan membership program at catsnil.com that should have something for everybody. And beyond that, we have a lot of partnerships with local and other businesses that also provide opportunities to support the Cats. I mean, we've got our Wabash Easy Drink and Ale at Manhattan Brewing Company, which you can also find at Hy-Vee. Go out and buy some of that and support the Cats, as well as a good local business. During the month of October, we've got a partnership with Vista, where every combo meal purchased at Vista during the month of October will result in 50 cents being donated back to Wildcat NIL. So those are just two of the examples right now. But obviously a lot of ways to support the Cats through Wildcat NIL. And so if you want to get involved, go to our website, catsnil.com, and find out how you can support in a way that makes sense for you. And otherwise, just appreciate all your support for the Cats and for Wildcat NIL.
A partnership with Dara's gas station generated a nice chunk of change as well.
Yeah.
You guys announced that.
Super positive. So we did 2 gas station give back campaigns with Dara's this year, one in March and one in August more recently, where Dara's donated 3 cents for every gallon of fuel pumped at their gas stations in each of those 2 months, and that generated well over $32,000. And so obviously a big deal for us, and I think a very positive campaign for Dara's, a great local company as well. So looking forward to doing that again in the future as well. I think that's an easy way for people to support the Cats, where they're not taking any dollars out of their pocket and are still supporting the Cats in a big way.
So many memories at Vista as well. When you mentioned Vista, I mean, I remember going to Vista back when I was 5, 6 years old, going to K-State games. Still stop, and my parents often stop there as well. So,
Look at a Royal Burger at Vista. You'll never be disappointed.
It brings back so many great childhood memories. There used to be one in Topeka as well that we would hit up frequently. That one's closed, but you still got the one in Manhattan. And I just like stopping in because I really enjoy the memories, the good food as well. So go support Vista as well, and all the other businesses that Wildcat NIL is partnered with. You can find a lot of that information over at catsnil.com on some of the business partnerships they have, so you know who to potentially support there. And check them out. And as Curry mentioned, the fan membership page over at catsnil.com. Membership tiers between $10 a month, $99 a month. You got the $25, $50 a month club as well. Tons of great perks to become a member, in addition to supporting great K-State athletes and contributing to winning in that facet. Also, a lot of other great perks. I know a lot of people have asked me, and they've commented on the YouTube show in the past, where did we get this hat here that I'm rocking right now, this white Wildcats hat with the state of Kansas border around the Wildcat script? That came with the $25 a month club that I am a member of. So if you join catsnil.com and join that $25 a month membership club right now, you'll get this hat as well as a sweet shirt from Wildcat NIL and some other gifts as well as part of that membership. So go check them out. Check out the membership page. And that's not even to mention, Curry, the tailgates that you guys have. We have 3 remaining home games with Wildcat NIL tailgates before every home game. I believe it's 3 hours before kick. Is that right? That we get that going?
Yep. Yeah. Start 3 hours before kick and go till about an hour before kick. We try to shut it down so we can get cleaned up. But yeah, we'll have a tailgate before every home game. I think Holiday Distillery will be at one or two of those. Different food options every week. Plenty of food, plenty of beverages, and obviously an opportunity to mingle with great K-Staters. So if you're not already coming to those, if you're not already a member through our fan membership, would highly encourage you to do so.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've stopped by each of the last two games, and some of my buddies have stopped by as well. They've since joined Wildcat NIL as a result because they love it so much, and coming by that tailgate is worth the price of just the membership tier in itself, going to one game and getting all the drinks that you can and all the great food over there. So be sure to check it out. We had, I think, Curry, you had to run last time, but we had Cooper Beebe swing by. He was back in town for the Oklahoma State game. Gabby Gregory swung by. There were some great Wildcat greats swung by as well. We've had Junior Spivey, Trey Spivey's dad, former World Series All-Star, and World Series champion Junior Spivey stopped by as well. Just tons of some great folks over there that have joined the tailgate. So encourage all of you to do it. I think Riverbank Brewing in Council Grove, which brings you the Wildcat NIL segment. I think they're going to be by to provide some drinks at one of these games in addition to Holiday Distillery and other games. So some great opportunities to try some great drinks and support some local companies as well as part of that. So go over to catsnil.com, get signed up so you can join in on the fun at the tailgate in that Northeast grass lot. It's well worth it. All right, time to talk some football, Curry. And with this, we're just going to go ahead and make this the top storyline of the show, which is brought to you by our friends over at Elanco, premier home improvement company owned by terrific K-Staters based in Kansas City. Curry, John and I highlighted on our post-game show DJ Giddens as the top storyline, and we're certainly going to discuss his game Saturday as well as the terrific season he's having. But for this specific show, the top storyline to me is how both the K-State offense and defense responded to adversity in the final 4 minutes in Boulder. Look, we know at BYU, they couldn't stop the bleeding when things went south. And at Colorado, the interception occurs. K-State loses the lead for the first time since early in the first quarter. And this time, K-State had an answer. They go down the field, 3 plays, 84 yards, take the lead right back. The defense forces a turnover on downs on the ensuing drive to end the game without even giving up a first down, just a 4-and-out turnover on downs. What does that say, Curry, about the maturation of this team over just the past few weeks when faced with similar adversity, daunting atmosphere, under the lights, late kick? They were able to respond this time to the adversity they faced.
Absolutely. And I think super impressed by them and their resilience. And I think you're seeing them, you're seeing the way a football team builds and develops over the course of a season. Obviously, BYU seems to be an outlier at this point. Obviously, as we've discussed, one of the more fluky games that I've ever watched. But if you think about just the course of this season, obviously battled through a ton of adversity on the road against a good Tulane football team in week 2. And I think that sets the foundation for the success that we had, for the adversity that we battled through against Colorado. Battled through some adversity against Oklahoma, where you're down 10-7 and you throw a pick right after a 77-yard touchdown, and then you batten down the hatches and put a whipping on a pretty good Oklahoma State football team. And so you see the adversity against Tulane, the adversity against BYU too, and then the adversity against Oklahoma State. All of that builds a foundation for how you handle that adversity against a really good Colorado football team. And so really impressed with the way that game turned out. I mean, initially, Colorado comes out first drive and punches us straight in the teeth. Young football team, you get worried about how they're going to bounce back. And we dominated the first half and dominated the first three, most of the first 3 quarters after that. And then obviously when the game got tight in the fourth quarter, we found ways to make plays and to walk away with a win against, a really good Colorado football team, a team that I think is a lot better than anybody anticipated going into this season. And so thoroughly impressed with the coaching, with our approach to this football game, thoroughly impressed with our ability to handle adversity, which included a ton of injuries and a defensive backfield that was a mass unit by the end of that football game. And so that is a win that enhances your culture, that brings that locker room even more together, and that should help, that should help set up a lot of success down the home stretch of this season. I don't think that can be understated.
Yeah, gigantic win. And look, K-State was 0-21 under Chris Kleiman when trailing with 6 minutes or less remaining in a game during his career, starting in 2019 and on at Kansas State. Look, I don't think many programs' winning percentages are very high at all when it comes to being trailing by 6 minutes or less left in a game, but remarkable that K-State was able to respond so quickly. They got the football back with just under 4 minutes left and marched right down the field with a couple of explosive plays, and we're going to get into those in the All-22, as I mentioned. There were 9 other games in the Kleiman era that I was able to chart where K-State was tied or trailing in the final 6 minutes and had an opportunity with the football to either take the lead or tie the game in the final offensive drive. Took out Arkansas State in 2020 and at Texas in 2021. They had less than 40 seconds remaining in each of those, and they were down by 4 or more. So that was a really difficult situation. I didn't include those. But in those other 9 games, those 9 drives, they scored 3 points total, had 2 interceptions, 2 turnover on downs, a fumble loss, 3 punts, and then made a field goal in 2023 at Texas to send the game to overtime. That's the only time they scored when getting the ball under 6 minutes with a chance to tie or take the lead. So this was really remarkable. Avery Johnson and young offense to be able to answer the call in a really difficult situation and go down the field, get that lead right back, have an answer after the interception. Just a huge deal. And I know our folks at Elenco were thrilled with what they saw there at the end, and we're probably enjoying some celebratory drinks after that one as well. Again, Elenco, premier home improvement company based out of Kansas City, has remained locally owned since they started in 1986. If you're thinking about getting new windows on your home or doing a bathroom remodel, Elenco specializes in premium window replacements as well as Kohler Luxstone shower systems. Need new siding on your home, they've got it there as well. New doors, etc. The folks at Elenco have you covered as well with the best products and top quality service. You don't even need to live in the Kansas City area. They will come to you. They cover much of western Missouri, northeast Kansas. They'll come to Manhattan, Emporia, Topeka, Wichita, etc. Even small towns like I'm from in Rossville. Elenco will come your way and take care of all your home improvement needs. Go to elencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com. Check out all the services they offer. Give Sam, also a great K-Stater, a call at 913-961-2165. Again, 913-961-2165, and he'll get you taken care of and answer any questions you have. Go support Elenco, a terrific local business owned and operated by wonderful K-Staters. Curry, I mentioned we got to talk about DJ Giddens too. And I mean, what's more to say at this point? 786 yards now on the ground on the season, averaging an astonishing 7.3 yards per carry. He's top 5 in the country in yards per carry. He's been the best running back in the Big 12 in what is a loaded league of running backs. He is currently on pace to break the school record for getting the fastest to 1,000 yards of any running back in school history. He's on pace to reach it on his 138th carry this season. Darren Sproles is the fastest at 159 carries. Darren Sproles did it in 10 games. DJ Giddens is only 214 yards away after game 6. It is remarkable what he continues to do on the field. I mean, he's a quiet, humble guy that's not going to say a lot, but we got to say a lot for DJ Giddens. Just what do you make of, this game and just the overall season he's having?
It's just unbelievable. I think, you put it pretty perfectly. I mean, this is a guy who, for some reason has just been underrated for the last 2 years now. Woefully underrated for a guy who's in the upper echelon of running backs in the country. Probably, if not for Ashton Jeanty, has a legit case as the number one, as the top running back in America. And so just thoroughly impressed by him and his ability to make a massive impact on the game each week. Obviously Saturday, he's the focal point of the offense for the majority of that football game. And, this is a Colorado football team that, despite how they've been in the past, has been pretty solid against the run this year. I mean, last week in his pregame press conference, Deion's hyping up the fact that that defense hadn't given up a 100-yard rusher all season. And then you look up at the end of the first half, and DJ's right about 130. And then, another thing that I think is underrated about DJ is his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. Obviously, he had a big drop on Saturday, but then redeemed himself with a 34-yard catch that set us up for the game-winning touchdown. And so his ability to affect the game in multiple ways, I think, is understated. But man, just what an impressive player! His ability to make big runs out of nothing time and time again is something that I'm not accustomed to seeing. I mean, there's obviously the O-line is doing a good job opening up holes, but a lot of times the defense is filling the gaps as they should, and DJ's breaking a tackle or making a defensive back or linebacker look silly. and busting a big gain. And we saw that over and over and over again Saturday night, to the point where, wake up Sunday, and I think, Cole, you sent it to me, but there's a hilarious mashup on Twitter of Shiloh Sanders, his highlight tape from the K-State game. And it's just time and time again, it's Shiloh having a good position on DJ in the hole, and DJ making Shiloh look like a completely uncoordinated defensive back, and putting him on his knees or on his back and busting off a big run. And that's just who DJ has become. I think he was probably unfairly characterized as a power downhill running back through 2 years of his collegiate career. And we're seeing now that he has an elite ability at making guys miss and getting on the edge and making explosive plays over and over and over again. So just so impressed with him. And I think, his personality, his demeanor, his approach, I think makes him so much easier to cheer for. I think it does lend itself to him being, to people not talking about him as much. But as a K-State fan, I love his approach, his demeanor, his work ethic. He is our identity right now, and that's a pretty darn good identity.
It's endearing the way he carries himself.
Yes.
Because it's so rare to find a player that, acts in the manner that he does and is so incredibly humble and doesn't want to talk about himself after games.
Yes.
Last year, I think, we had him on the pod last year after his huge game against UCF, and we knew it was going to be a tough interview because DJ just doesn't want to talk about himself. And now it's almost to the point where, the fans just love it. And It's almost like we want to get DJ back on, and we probably will try soon, just because even if it's an awkward, tough to answer interview, it's hilarious. DJ's great. I don't care if he gets us 5-word answers.
Yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. I mean, you see a lot of kids who struggle to interview or because they just give bad answers or they talk too much. And then you see DJ who just he wants to avoid any hype upon himself. Says 5-6 word answers routinely, but it's become sort of he's become an electric interview just because of the persona that he's built for himself and that's been built for him. It's you're right. It's endearing. I love watching DJ interviews as much as anybody because there's a complete desire to avoid any sort of anything being placed upon him, which is pretty incredible for a guy of his caliber.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal. And like you mentioned, I think Shiloh Sanders had 9 missed tackles in the game, which, and the play that everybody was talking about was the one where DJ brought him to his knees, right, and embarrassed him. But then as you start watching it again and you see that highlight video, he embarrassed Shiloh Sanders all game. I mean, there was one time Shiloh dove into him. He just trucked him, ran over him like he was nothing. There were 3 or 4 other times where he just juked him again, and Shiloh's completely out of position. I mean, just embarrassed the Colorado defense out there. We've talked about it before, but his lateral mobility, his ability to jump cut defenders is incredible on top of his physicality. Just a remarkable performance. I mean, you talked about R.J. Harvey, who was regarded as one of the top 2 or 3 running backs coming into the Big 12 this season at UCF. It's 77 yards against Colorado on 16 carries. Mm-hmm. I mean, DJ had over 100 on 8 or 9 carries, like you mentioned, by the second quarter of that game. Just terrific. As always, he is a do-it-all complete running back, and I think you could make an argument. Truthfully, Curry, I'm not going to put you on the spot here, but like John and I were talking after the game, DJ Giddens very well may be at this point the second best running back in the history of K-State football. When we get done with it, Deuce Vaughn, we love him to death. And he was phenomenal, and K-State has had a terrific history of loaded running backs. But I struggle to rank him behind anybody but Darren Sproles at this point.
I agree. I mean, if he finishes this, the last 6, 7, 8 games of this year, the way that he started, and then, if we're lucky, we get him back for another year, there's no way he's not going to be, top 2, clearly. Again, just an ability to affect the football game from that position, unlike anything that we've really ever seen aside from maybe a Darren Sproles. So, super impressed by him. Every week he seems to outdo himself, which is unbelievable. So,
yeah. He's averaging 6 yards a carry in his career, which is second best in program history. Third best is Alex Barnes at 5.71. He's just trailing Darren Sproles, who is 6.1 yards per rush in his entirety of his career. So he is right on Darren Sproles' heel. I mean, he came into the season averaging, I think, 5.7 yards per carry, I want to say, in his career, or 5.6. He's at 6 now. It's hard to make that number go up after all the carries he's had, but he continues to boost it with how good he's been. listen, we gotta throw to one break here to tell you about our friends at Home Field Apparel, and then we come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about K-State, the defense, and some of the things that happened against Colorado, and then we're going to get into the all-22 film breakdown as well with Curry as he gives his expert analysis on the different plays. So be sure to tune in for that here. That's coming your way in just a few minutes. But first, as always, got to tell you about our friends over at Home Field Apparel, which can get you stocked up with tons of K-State gear, retro gear on their website over at homefieldapparel.com. 50-plus items, retro, sleek fitting gears, numerous hats on their website. Fall has arrived, so it's time to get stocked up with one of Home Field's many warm hoodies that are some of the most comfortable that I have in my closet with some awesome retro logos on them, some slick design. So go over to homefieldapparel.com, enter discount code 3MAW24. You can score 15% off on your entire order. Colorado fans, if you're still tuned into the show as well, I mean, I know many of you have watched the show the last couple of days as well, since you seem so interested in K-State football and anybody mentioning your name. Look, Home Field Apparel got Colorado gear on their website as well, so you can go check it out, and you could probably try the discount code FRAUDS, and maybe you can get some amount of money off as well when you enter that. I'm just joking, actually. Try 3MAW24. You'll get 15% off, Buff fans, and you can get it on the Colorado gear as well. Go check them out at homefieldapparel.com.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your number one source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com. Anytime you discover something new, like a show or a song, you just want to share it with your friends, because what's better than experiencing something together? That's kind of what it feels like when you discover that Mint Mobile offers premium wireless service for just $15 a month when you purchase a 3-month plan. It's such an awesome deal, there's no way you could keep it to yourself. So friends, don't let friends overpay for wireless. Say bye-bye to your overpriced wireless plan and switch to Mint Mobile, so you no longer have to deal with negotiating with wireless companies and unexpected overages that you could expect to see on your bills. With Mint Mobile, when they say $15 a month for 3 months of premium wireless, they mean it. And if you're worried about losing your phone or bringing your contacts or your phone number, with Mint Mobile, you can bring all of that to the new plan. So ditch overpriced wireless with Mint Mobile's deal and get 3 months of premium wireless service for just $15 a month. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/3MAW. That's mintmobile.com/3MAW. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/3MAW. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. On unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details.
Okay, we talked about the offense. Let's transition to the defense real quick. And the defensive line just absolutely brought it. I mean, I thought they were maybe the biggest difference in that game, aside from DJ Giddens. Defensive line, the question that we had on the pregame show going into the game was, how much pressure can you get at Shedeur Sanders? How much pressure can you afford to bring? Because it has been a problem for Colorado's offensive line during the Deion Sanders era to protect him, and he also hangs on to the ball too long. That's probably his biggest flaw as a quarterback. K-State gets 6 sacks. They generate a couple holdings on top of that. 5 different guys have sacks in this game. Just what did you make of the effort from K-State's defensive line up front?
Huge. I mean, I think probably aside from DJ, the biggest impact of anybody on the game or any position group on the game. You know, last week, I know you and I didn't talk, but I was talking to Mitch Fortner from KMAN, and he said, "How are you feeling about the game?" And I said, "Oh, pretty nervous. I think this Colorado team is solid, and some of their strengths match up with some of our weaknesses." And I said, the game is going to come down to our ability to run the football. We talked about how we succeeded there, and our ability to get after Shedeur Sanders. And obviously, we had some success there as well. 6 sacks. Obviously, Shedeur helped us on a few of those, rolling right into the pressure and making it an easy play for our guys. But we were getting pressure on him all night long. If we weren't sacking him, we were hitting him in the teeth, we forced an errant throw that led to an interception, forced some other bad throws from him, and I think put a lot of pressure on their offensive line. I think if you look back to the last series of the game defensively, after we take the 31-28 lead, you come out. And I don't know about you. I mean, we were talking via text, but I didn't have a lot of confidence at that point, given the way that our defensive backfield was again a mash unit, and we hadn't stopped them basically for the majority of the second half. And you come out, they get 4 yards on first down, and then incomplete pass on 2nd and 6, 3rd and 6. It's obviously 4-down territory. I think you're thinking there's no way Shedeur doesn't pick up 6 yards on 2 snaps. Well, Brendan Mott on the edge against their right tackle has been putting pressure on them all night long, and that right tackle gets off to an early false start penalty. All of a sudden, it's 3rd and 11. They pick up 6 on 3rd down, and then obviously the last play of the game down the sideline where Keenan made a good defensive play, and game's over at that point. And so I think the sacks obviously were huge all night. I think they helped. The sacks played as much of a role in anything in helping us build that 2-touchdown lead. And then I think that the false start on that last snap that was caused by Brendan Mott putting fear into that right tackle, I think that had as much of an impact as anything. And so I think, again, huge effort by the defensive line. And the 6 sacks were massive, but I think beyond the 6 sacks, they wreaked havoc all night long. And we saw it from Brendan, we saw it from Toby, we saw it from Cody Stufflebean. Jordan Allen came in, played 8 snaps, and made his presence known. Ryan Davis made a sack. We saw Chidi in there again making some plays as well. Travis Bates was in on a sack early with Brendan Mott. So all of those core 7 guys that we've talked about all season all got in and all made an impact. And so we're seeing that position group quickly become one of the biggest strengths of this team. And you and I talked about it going into this season. We needed to be better at generating organic pressures, and we did just that on Saturday. And I think, again, that was, aside from DJ, I think that had as much influence as anything on the outcome of that football game. So thoroughly impressed with that position group.
K-State had 25 sacks all season last year, Curry. They sit at 18 through 6 games. They're top 15 in the country in sacks per game with 3 per contest. And look, Brendan Mott, we highlighted DJ Giddens. I think we got to give a shout out to Brendan Mott, who already has tied his career high for sacks in a season. He had 6 in 2022, and that was in 14 games. He's just 6 through 6 right now. He's leading the Big 12 in sacks. He's number 8 nationally in sacks. Just how good a football is he playing right now?
Amazing. And it's just what you hoped for when you brought him back. I mean, if you think back to 10 months ago, mid-December last year, after a year in which we struggled to get pressure on the QB, there was a time in which the thought was that we were going to lose Nate Matlack, Brendan Mott, and Cody Stufflebean. We were able to bring Brendan back and assure him that he was going to be a focal point of this defense. And then later able to get Cody to come back as well. Imagine this defense without Brendan and without Cody Stufflebean. Obviously there's still a lot of depth there, but this is a defense that Brendan Mott is arguably the motor of this defense. In his 6th season at K-State. And so I just don't think you can understate how important it was for them to convince him to stay and bring him back so he could be the leader of that defensive front, be one of the leaders of this defense. So can't understate how well he's playing. And it's not one of those deals where he's getting, fluky sacks that are padding his stats, because this is a guy who, if he's not getting a quarterback to the ground, he's putting pressure on the QB all game long. He's wreaking havoc in the defensive backfield, and is really a worst nightmare for offensive tackles across the league. And so really, really, really impressed with him. He's outperforming any and all expectations that I think anybody had for him, even probably himself. And so credit to him, credit to the coaches for his continued development. And just, again, super glad that we were able to get him to come back for a 6th year.
Yeah, no, tremendous. And look, Desmond Purnell's sack in the Colorado game was largely because Brendan Mott he chased him into him, and Desmond Purnell cleaned it up, but Mott brought the initial pressure on that. So while he had 2 sacks in that game, he created so many more additional pressures that led to other guys being able to clean it up. So just a tremendous game. Toby Osunsami, he had some nice pass rushes as well. Yep. Just guys all over the board contributing where K-State was able to rotate. We talked about the depth of this defensive line coming into the season and how important that would be, and they just kept rotating guys and bringing additional pressure at Shedeur Sanders. And these were not your traditional 5-6 yard sacks, a lot of them because of Shedeur Sanders and the way he plays. Yeah. So, and then you get him in that 3rd and 11, like you mentioned, and Shedeur probably at that point doesn't trust that he can sit back, very long in the pocket. So he checks it down, and that gets him to the 4th and 5. And then, Zayshawn Rich on the field, just real quick, and we're going to go to the All-22 after that, but like you and I watched the All-22 film of Zayshawn Rich on that 2nd and 28. Now they converted it, but Zayshawn Rich is a true freshman corner who's long, he's fast, he's somebody that the coaching staff is incredibly high on, got his first significant snaps, partially out of necessity due to injuries, but also it sounded like per Chris Kleiman, the game plan was to get him more snaps in this game in Boulder. He played almost 30 snaps in the game. Just looking at that one play, I know they converted the 2nd and 28 on him, but we see the coverage that he had. What did you make of his game and what you saw there?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard a lot about him for the last 3 or 4 months, and so to see him out there against a good receiving group and staying, running step for step down the sideline with a good receiver is positive. And I think, you and I talked about this, but we've become accustomed to K-State to good defensive backs who struggle to turn and try to locate the football. Obviously, eliminating the possibility of an interception, but also drawing more penalties because of it. And to see a young, true freshman cornerback playing his first meaningful snaps, running step for step with a receiver, and then turning to try to locate the football tells me that he's got a skill set, he's got instincts that are way beyond his years. And so obviously, yeah, they converted 2nd and 28. He lost a step when he turned to locate the football. He's going to improve there with more repetition, but thoroughly impressed with him. And we talked about when you talk about him. And we talked about DJ and we talked about Brendan Mott, and those three all have something in common. They were recruited by basically nobody. And our staff goes to Iowa City, Iowa, and pulls Ben Neiman's brother, Eric Ben Neiman, the Neiman who played for the Chargers, whatever his name is, pulls his brother-in-law out of Iowa City, Iowa, and get him to walk on at K-State, where now he becomes the leader of our defense. And then you go, to Junction City, Kansas, and recruit a kid who nobody's recruiting, who now becomes one of the best running backs in school history. And then you go to, you go get Zayshawn Rich, who's committed to Wyoming and has no offers really beyond a Wyoming offer, and you get him to commit. And now he's, the future of that defensive backfield group for our team. And so I think, you have to give a ton of credit to this coaching staff for their ability to go find those recruits who are diamonds in the rough and make them into really, really good football players. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Jacob Parrish, recruited by nobody. Keenan Garber, former receiver who wasn't ever going to be anything in that position group, starting now. Marquise Siegel, FCS corner. Jordan Riley, Mac safety. Austin Romaine, starting middle linebacker, recruited by nobody. Des Purnell, recruited by nobody. That's what this team is made up of guys who had no recruiting interest or very little recruiting interest. Our staff sees the promise in them, gets them to come to K-State, and develops them into really, really good Big 12 football players. I mean, again, you could keep going and going and going, and that's just in 6 years of Chris Kleiman. And so, again, impressed with Zayshawn Rich, but I want to give a ton of credit to this coaching staff for their ability to recruit, to find diamonds in the rough, and to develop these players into really good football players.
It's a good shout out. I mean, as you're going down the list there, Damian Ilalio, another guy with no offers that's now manning nose tackle for this defense, a defense that ranks 3rd in the country in yards per rush allowed at 2.53. So he's been a tremendous addition as well. You could keep going. So yeah, it's a great thought. And something that I appreciate you bringing up, Curry, because they've definitely found, while they've gotten some highly ranked and highly recruited kids in recent years, they've also done a very good job evaluating kids and getting in on them before they blew up on the recruiting trail as well. So, all right. Well, that brings us to all 22 time to dissect and break down 6 plays. So our producer, Nick Springer, as always, appreciate him as he's going to help man us through this and roll some footage for us. And Nick, I think we are ready for the first play, this is going to be the first drive or second play of the eventual game-winning drive here, where you see the swing or wheel route out to DJ Giddens. Curry, it looks like Colorado is in a man defense here. They motion the guy. K-State motions the receiver. I think it's Jaden Jackson, signifies they're in man, and then you see 2 Colorado defenders run into each other, trying to get out to DJ Giddens out in the flat there, results in a 30-plus yard play. K-State had another play like this synced up earlier in the game that would have been a big first down. DJ unfortunately dropped it, but it seems like they saw something on film. Probably Colorado plays a lot of man defense, and they knew they could get him here. I'll open it up for you to dissect how DJ Giddens got so open here.
Yeah, so this is a tremendous play call based on what they were seeing from Colorado all night, which was a lot of man-to-man defense. And again, they tried to run this play earlier, but unfortunate drop led to a no gain. But you see here again, you bring Jaden Jackson in motion, as we've discussed, as we've talked about. The reason you do that is to get an identification, to diagnose the coverage. Obviously, it's man to man, which the corners also indicate, because you look at the field, you look at the boundary corner there, number 3 on Keegan, and he's squared up to Keegan, looking straight at Keegan. That says man to man, and so great play call by the coaches here. Great execution. Obviously, that you're getting a linebacker or a high safety guarding DJ, and so everybody runs their routes. Obviously, the mesh concept that is the primary concept here with Keegan and Jace, and also Garrett Oakley, leads to natural screening. Shiloh Sanders, who's guarding DJ, gets lost in the shuffle, and DJ goes out free. So great play call. Great execution. Great job by Avery putting it right on DJ so he can keep running down the field. And great job by DJ picking up a big gain of, I believe, 34 yards. He ran out of bounds here a little bit early, which at the time frustrated me. But Colorado had their sideline painted weird, where there's a solid white color, and then inside the boundary there's the kind of the faint white color. So I think DJ just didn't quite understand what was out of bounds there. So excellent play call here. Great execution. Give +1 to the coaches here for setting this big play up.
Yeah. No, you can see it's good old number 21, Shiloh Sanders, that runs into the corner there that can't get out to DJ on the edge, and they get him for 30+ yards, which was a huge play because you're in a hole. You got 84 yards to go, and that gets under the field.
You obviously just give up the lead, and after the pick, and then young freshman Devin Rice brings the kick out of the depths of the end zone and gets stuffed at the 15 or 16 yard line. And at that point, Colorado has every ounce of momentum. And so for us on 1st and 10 or 2nd and 10, whatever that was, I believe it was 1st and 10, for us to, gain 34 yards and put us in scoring position was massive. So great play call by the coaches in that setting.
I think it was 2nd and 10 because he fired to Jace on the play before, right? And it was actually, that was not a bad throw, by the way. Like, it was close to be in there.
I think it hit him in the hands. So yeah. 2nd and 10, but great play call. That changed the tone of that last drive.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm really excited for this one, Curry. So this is what proved to be the game winner, the 50-yard touchdown to Jace Brown on the RPO. And Roddy Jones, the color analyst for ESPN, I thought he did a nice job highlighting the play that Jace made here, walling off the corner, and how well done that was by him. You're a former receiver, former 1,000-yard receiver. I want you to talk through just how special the play this was from Jace, and just the whole play altogether.
Yeah. So obviously, again, you're getting man, and Avery diagnoses that well. And you're right. 2 plays prior to this, on the first play of this drive, on the opposite side of the field, we tried to run a similar play to Jace, and it was maybe just a touch overthrown, and maybe ball should have been caught, but obviously we saw something there and wanted to come right back to it. Jace was having a big night, so loved this play call in this instance. And so, as you see, I mean, it's obvious one-on-one coverage, so you got to let your best receiver go in. Jace gets a good release on the DB. And then where he wins this route is when he gets to, so ball's on the 50, when Jace gets to the 35-yard line and he starts hand fighting with that DB and stacks that defensive back, that's where he wins this route. So at the 35-yard line, he's even. And that DB's in a good spot. But DJ uses his hands effectively, gets the DB's hands off of him, stacks him, which means that he puts the DB right on his backside, which gives him all the leverage in this play. And then obviously this is a good throw by Avery. It's maybe a tick underthrown, but Avery does a nice job of putting enough air under this ball so Jace can run under it. And maybe the most impressive part of this play is the way that Jace adjusts to this football, knowing that it's underthrown, and an inexperienced receiver would turn and try to open their chest to the football and locate it this way, which makes it an easy breakup for the defensive back. Jace, being the player that he is, simply slows down, forcing contact from the DB, drawing a pass interference, and also making it so the DB can't get through to his arms when the ball floats in over his inside shoulder. And so that is absolute teach tape go route, stacking the DB by Jace, making an adjustment and making a play on a football in a massive situation. So just great execution by QB1 and wide receiver 1. And again, just excellent route, teach tape route by Jace Brown.
So incredibly savvy for a true sophomore receiver to recognize that. And as you said, slow down. And the only way that the defender can get is go through his back to get to the ball, which is going to be a PI at worst in that situation. And then Jace obviously completes the catch. And by the way, Avery stood in there with a guy flying in his face and pressure. I mean, Colorado brought 7 guys there in pressure. K-State picked it up somewhat, but there was a defender coming up the middle. Avery stood in the pocket, delivered a throw, and did not overthrow him, left it to where he left his receiver, and trusted him to go make a play. Credit to them all together for making a huge play in this game that eventually wins it. And Curry, we've got a still photo that you came across of this play. Yeah. Look at this.
So this is so I gotta give credit here to my good friend Ray Martinez from Martinez Media and Marketing Group, and so I saw Ray posted this on his Instagram page on Sunday, and I sent it to Cole and John at DY and just said, look at, I mean, this photo shows how unbelievable the catch that was. I have said in the past that as a receiver, the most difficult catch, I think I said it in relation to Jace's big touchdown against Oklahoma State, the most difficult catch for a wide receiver is a ball that floats over the shoulder to the backside shoulder where your ball's coming here. I don't know if you can see me, but ball's coming here. And when it comes to your outside shoulder, you lose track of that football for a slight second. Your eyes lose track of that football. So it all becomes repetition, it all becomes feel, it all becomes your hand-eye coordination. And so this shows exactly how difficult that catch is. Obviously, Jace also has a DB who's all over him, but that ball is coming over his inside shoulder, floating to his outside shoulder. His eyes are losing track of it. It's all feel. And you can see there that his eyes are closed and the ball is just barely hanging on in between his forearms there. And so just shows how close it was, for this for this catch to not be made, which obviously may change the outcome of the game. And so just excellent catch by Jace. That is the hardest catch to make for a wide receiver. And I think that picture really demonstrates just how difficult of a catch that was.
How impressed are you with just Jace Brown and the player that he's become? I mean, Curry, I remember last year, early in the season, you were texting me saying they need to get Jace on the field. This was before he had done anything because of the elements that he could bring to this offense. This year, he's got 7 catches of 20 or more yards. That ranks top 10 in college football. He is top 20 in catches of 30 or more yards. I'm sorry, I think he's top 20 or top 15 in catches of 40 or more yards as well. He's top 20 in a lot of the different explosive play categories when it comes to wide receiver play. And over his last 4 games, 310 yards through the air. He's averaging 78 yards a game through the air in the last 4 contests. Just what do you make of how he's evolving and becoming such a big playmaker for this offense?
Yeah, I mean, he's just taking that next step, which is what you hope for coming into the season. You saw flashes last year. You saw he had a different speed, a different level of speed that he was bringing to the football field, which I think got him onto the football field early and allowed him to make plays as a freshman. And then he's making that leap. You're seeing him in a well-rounded, you're seeing him as a well-rounded receiver now. I mean, you think about it. Saturday night, he had 2 touchdown catches. One is on a flat route from the slot receiver position where he makes he gets open, makes a good catch, and then stretches across for a big time touchdown. And then the other one is outside receiver, man-to-man coverage, gets on top of the DB, stacks him, makes a big play, 50-yard touchdown play, and then goes and taunts Bradley Beal and John Wall and some of the other big time NBA guys over in the corner of that end zone. And so you're seeing him make plays from all over the football field, which very few guys have the ability to do. In a lot of ways, he's got some similarities to Tyler Lockett and just his ability to affect the football game from everywhere, from all kinds of different positions. And obviously, the most important thing here is probably the rapport that he and Avery have together. You're seeing an elite combination, building and evolving between these two, and they quite clearly trust each other. And when Avery needs a guy to bail him out, he's looking towards Jace, who's his roommate. So super impressed with him, super impressed with the improvement that he's made from last year to this year. And I think you're just going to continue to see him make massive impacts on football games.
16.7 yards per reception so far in his career at Kansas State, which would rank him 9th in program history and not far off from being in the top 5 from Aaron Lockett, who's 5th, who's at 17.5 yards per catch. So that tells you how explosive he has been. Great stuff from Jason Curry there, breaking him down. All right, let's roll the next play here. All right, so this is the Avery touchdown run, and the reason I wanted to include this, Curry, first of all, it's a huge moment early in the game where Chris Kleiman recognizes that they are not going to win this game kicking field goals, and they go for a 4th and 4. Avery recognizes the blitzing corner right off the edge, just really good awareness there to see him that quickly, evades the pocket, and makes a play, and then Jaden Jackson makes a nice block, just running his crossing route, recognizes Avery taking off, makes a block that helps him get into the end zone. But just what do you make of this play?
Yeah, just great. Really great recognition by Avery. You've seen they're the first now 6 games of the season. You've seen that Avery's had good and bad moments in dealing with pressures. There's times when the pressure can overwhelm him, can eat him up a little bit, and there's times like this where he can really make the pressure look foolish. This is a blitzing defensive back who comes off the edge untouched, and these are the guys who usually make these plays look easy because of their ability, their agility, and Avery. He diagnoses that untouched blitzer and simply steps up in the pocket and goes and makes a play as we've come to expect from him. And so just nothing really special this play. It's another simple mesh scheme by the offense with a wheel right out of the backfield. Unlike the other plays that we've looked at, they're running a zone coverage, which in the red zone is pretty rare. 2 guys run with DJ, which is a huge which affects this play in a large way. Like you said, Jaden makes a good block, and Avery just goes and makes an elite football play. So that's the biggest thing here is just the recognition by Avery, and then him just realizing, hey, I need to go make a play on 4th and 4 here, and going and scoring a big touchdown early in this football game.
What I like about it, Curry, is he's looking to his left for his initial read, and he quickly realizes it's not there. He comes off of it. He goes to his secondary read, and that's when he quickly sees the defender coming his way. Now, if he locks onto that first read and stays there an extra half second, Avery's getting drilled and very well could fumble the football on a blindside hit there where he's not seeing it coming. So just how quickly he came off that read, recognized the blitzing corner. We see quarterbacks all the time not see that coming, even though that's their front side. Mm-hmm. And he picked it up and just used his athleticism and instincts to get it into the end zone, which was just a gigantic play in the game because he doesn't get that. K-State's down 7-0, and that Colorado offense is back on the field once again, and it starts to feel like BYU, where you get in the red zone and you don't capitalize, but they were able to do it in this game. All right, let's roll this play. I think this is probably a play that you're really excited to talk about, Curry, and I'm glad to see the praises being shown on Taquan Roberson, K-State's backup quarterback, who was the number 2 quarterback in this game. Jacob Knuth didn't make the trip. He got banged up earlier in the week. Chris Kleiman had said this is after Avery had gotten dinged up earlier, was in the locker room at this time. K-State's up 14-7 in the game and driving, and the air kind of got sucked out when it looked like Avery was dinged up, but Taquan Roberson comes in, and the offense ends up getting a touchdown, and a huge part of that is this throw, which is a 3rd and 7, and Taquan Roberson completes a ball to Jace Brown for 15 yards or so on a really nice ball, really nice route from Jace. I'll let you speak to not only the play, but having a guy like Taquan Roberson, a transfer from UConn, able to step in and do what he did.
Yeah, so this is, again, man coverage, and Taquan diagnoses that. The motion helps. This is a backside. You've got, under route from Ty Bowman, who comes in motion. That actually comes wide open as well. And then to the top, you've just got an inside out route from Jace, who's just trying to get to the sticks, and a clear route on the outside by Dante Cephas. And ultimately, excellent route by Jace Brown. Again, I think this is 3rd and 8. And so Jace does a really good job of pushing to the sticks, or actually a little bit past the sticks. And you'll see that the difference maker in this route is when Jace gets to about the 5 or 6 yard mark, and he's got the DB on his inside shoulder. A rookie receiver would break to the out then, and that makes that coverage easy for the DB. When Jace gets level with that DB and gets him on his inside shoulder, he pushes 2 more steps vertically and then snaps the route off at or past the sticks, which gets him a crazy amount of separation. So that is an excellent route by Jace Brown in that moment. And then just a great throw by Taquan Roberson. Obviously, he's got Ty Bowman coming open on an under route as well, which would have converted for a first down, if not a touchdown. But he knows it's man coverage. He knows his best receiver has a good matchup, and he knows he's running a route that he can win on a throw that Taquan, who's got a really strong arm, can make. And so excellent execution here. Great throw, great catch, great run after the catch by Jace, who adds to Shiloh Sanders' highlight tape. And again, we've talked about this, and I know I sent out a tweet on Saturday night. This is exactly why this moment this series is exactly why you bring a guy like Taquan Roberson in to back up your young superstar. This is a guy who's played a lot of football at the collegiate level. He was a big-time recruit out of high school, signed with Penn State, where he played a lot of snaps, and then was the starting quarterback at UConn. Last year, as we were trying to fill the roster with the spring portal, we were looking for guys, experienced guys, to come in and back up Avery, because obviously, as Avery got promoted to the starting position, you lost Will Howard, you lost Avery and Mara, you lost Jake Rubley. Your quarterback room became basically, really by the spring, it became Avery, Jacob Knuth, and excuse me, why am I blanking on
Blake Barnett?
So you have three inexperienced guys, and so obviously you need to have a guy who can win you a football game if Avery goes down. And so when Avery went down, I think there was obviously the air got sucked out of the room. Nobody was feeling too good about where things stood, but that was the moment where you say, okay, here's why we go out and utilize NIL to bring in a solid backup quarterback, a guy who is not going to be fazed by that raucous road environment. And Taquan stood in there and he led us down confidently, calmly led us down the field on a big time drive. And he may not play any more meaningful snaps for us this year. And if he doesn't, and if we finish this year strong, you're going to look back at that drive and say, that could be a drive that helped determine the outcome of this season. And going and getting a guy like Taquan Roberson on the transfer portal market to come in and serve in that role was worth every penny of that. And so I think can't understate how important that moment was, and Taquan rose to the occasion. And so can't give him enough credit for that. A guy who's not played in any really meaningful snaps this year, to come off the bench, cold road environment, big time environment, and to lead us on a touchdown drive is just massive.
A guy that had opportunities, other Group of 5 schools where he could have potentially been a starting quarterback, comes to Kansas State, speaks to the value of NIL and just how big of a contributing factor that can be, and then that he's ready to play. And he's well liked in the locker room. Coach Kleiman talked about that as well after the game. He's one of their players of the game. The guys were so thrilled for him. He prepares well. It's a huge drive by Taquan Roberson, and cannot be happier for him. And I think the misnomer about this whole thing is, like, everybody thinks when they brought a guy like him in, well, if Avery goes down long term, you're screwed. So, like, what's the point? Well, the point is, for situations like that, when a guy gets dinged up in a game and only has to miss a series or two, that you have somebody that's capable that can step in and things don't just blow up. And you can make it.
It's Chad Henne against the Jags a couple years ago in the playoffs, where Pat Mahomes suffers a pretty serious ankle injury, and Chad Henne comes in and keeps things afloat. I think he did it with Cleveland in a prior playoff too, and that's why you do it. And it's odd to say that Jacob Knuth, who wasn't with the team Saturday night, or Blake Barnett couldn't do it, but you feel more confidently that on the road, this tried and true veteran is going to come in, and he's going to be able to manage the load. He's going to be able to keep things moving, keep the offense going. And that's exactly what Taquan did. And you could tell that he was completely unfazed by that crowd, by that environment. And again, I think, just in terms of what that drive meant for that football game, absolutely massive. And so can't get enough credit to Taquan Roberson for the way he's handled himself. And for the way that he handled that drive on Saturday night. Absolutely massive.
He's ready for it. I mean, I watched him in a top 10 matchup, I want to say, at Iowa and Kinnick Stadium when he was at Penn State. It was a huge game on national TV, and he played most of that game when Penn State's quarterback, I'm blanking on his name, got hurt. So he's been in big environments, and he was ready to go for that one. So huge shout out to Taquan Roberson. All right, let's roll the final couple plays here, Nick. All right, so this is Will Swanson's uncovered at tight end outside and the boundary, and they called this out on the broadcast originally. Avery throws the ball to Della, it's high, it's incomplete. This is on the drive where K-State is up by 3 points with around 5-6 minutes left in the game. They're looking to ice the game and put it away. This is where they eventually throw the interception on this drive, but this is one of the plays right before that. Curry, I'll let you kind of talk through what you saw here.
Yeah, so this is I think the background here, the context here is important, because this is the exact same concept against a similar look that we got a few plays prior when Avery hit Garrett Oakley for a first down. Obviously, you can see the Colorado's having some communication issues early. a few seconds before the snap, nobody is guarding either Garrett Oakley or Will Swanson. And same play a couple plays prior, same coverage a couple plays prior. Avery hits Garrett Oakley for an easy touchdown on that third receiver stick route. So Avery sees this early, but then and so he's locked in on Garrett Oakley off the snap. But then obviously that safety comes over late and gets on top of Garrett Oakley, which takes him out of the play. So Avery, obviously knowing that pressure's coming in his face, quickly shifts focus to Dylan, who's running a inside slant on that top DB. So this is actually, looking at it time and time again, it's actually good recognition by Avery, and it's a good job of going through his progressions. He just missed on a throw. Obviously, he's getting pressure, so he's making a quick throw. But Dylan wins on that route. I believe that's not Shiloh. That's one of the other DBs. But he wins on that route. And if Avery hits him in stride, Dylan may go score. But I think the bigger thing here is just understanding the lack of understanding that, hey, Garrett Oakley gets covered up, but number two, Will Swanson, there's not a soul on him or near him. And so I think, better, easier play here is you come off Garrett and you throw to Will, who catches that football and probably goes and gets 10 or 15 more yards and gets a first down, sets up a potential touchdown. And so I think good diagnosis, good recognition by Avery. I think he made a fine read, makes a better throw, and Dylan gets a first down, if not a touchdown. But I think the easy read, the easy throw there is to throw to Will Swanson in the flat, who gets an easy first down.
You're right. Looking at that again, though, if he makes a good throw to Dylan very well may score. He's got inside leverage on the corner, and he's just got a safety to beat if he makes that catch. But in that situation, Curry, should Will Swanson be? You don't want to create too much attention, right? That like nobody's out covering you, but should he be throwing his hands up to try and get Avery's attention pre-snap?
I think so. I mean, I think he's trying to be subtle because he's not wanting to call attention to the fact that nobody's near him. And hoping that his QB recognizes it. But yeah, you got to give your QB some sort of signal that, hey man, nobody's within 30 yards of me. And obviously the outside receiver, I believe was Giddens, was running a clear route on that play. And so short of the clear route, short of that outside DB, that outside corner sitting on the flat route, which he's not going to do because otherwise you give up an easy touchdown to Jaden Jackson. That hey, you're going to be wide open. So yeah, I probably could have been a little bit more nonverbal communications there, but also you hope that your QB sees that, hey, my number two receiver out here is completely uncovered. And so just a learning experience there. Again, good job by Avery coming off his initial read and going to a secondary read, but there was a better secondary option there. I think is the point.
Yeah. Okay. Let's roll the last one. This is the interception. So K-State's going empty. They got 5 wide. Colorado brings some pressure. They get pressure on Avery. You can see Avery's only looking to his left here. I don't know if that was a pre-snap thing where they thought something would be open to the left, but the middle linebacker comes over to that side and he gets his hand on the ball. The DJ Giddens and Keegan Johnson look like they may have been open on the right-hand side. That middle linebacker must have known they were going to the left. Because he reads his eyes and gets over there and gets his hand on the football. But what do you see on this play?
Yeah, so pre-snap, it's a good read. It's the right read by Avery. I mean, Colorado is showing that they're bringing 6. They're showing straight 0 coverage, which means that it's straight man to man. There's no additional help. And so Avery, seeing that, knows that he's running a basically triple slants all the way across the board, and he sees that he's got Jace, his best and favorite target, lined up inside against a safety who's giving up a lot of cushion. I mean, that safety is 8 yards off Jace. And so Avery, seeing that, diagnoses the play correctly and locks in on his number one target. Now, the tricky part, as you mentioned, is that their middle linebacker shows blitz, but then drops back into a zone, which obviously throws Avery off. And Avery makes the right read initially, but then tries to force a throw into Jace, which gets tipped up into the air for an interception. I think, ideally, and obviously we're Sunday morning, Monday morning quarterbacking here. You see that inside linebacker drop off the line of scrimmage, and you immediately go, through your progressions and probably go to Keegan Johnson. I mean, Keegan Johnson, again, soft coverage, outside slant route. That's an easy throw and catch for a first down. And so just, I think, a little bit more patience, and a quicker post-snap diagnosis, I think would have led to a better result here. But obviously, that's a tough situation. I mean, that's fourth down, up 3, late in the football game, trying to preserve the lead and going for it in a big moment and knowing that you're getting a ton of pressure. And so that's a lot on a true sophomore quarterback in his first year as a starter. And so I think it's easy for us to sit there and nitpick these decisions. But I do think that with time, Avery's that's something that he's gonna get better at. He already has, and he's gonna say, okay, I see this linebacker drop, but I'm looking to the right, I'm seeing Keegan, and I'm picking up this first down here. So obviously, I think these highlights, these clips show that. And there's a ton that we didn't show, but these clips show that Avery's doing a lot of really positive things, a lot of great pre-snap, post-snap diagnosis. He's making the right reads. He's going through his progression. He's getting on it. He's getting out on his feet and making plays, but there's still some mistakes being made, which is a positive thing. There's a lot of area for improvement. And so for a true sophomore who's having the success that he's having in his first year as a starter, and he's grown so much already, to see that, hey, there's this obvious room for improvement should make you excited as a K-State fan, because he's playing so well, yet there's still much room for growth. And so I remain supremely optimistic about Avery and where he's at. I mean, I think, just a little tangent here, you saw a couple weeks ago after the BYU game, you saw Andy Staples and David Ubben write articles about, did OU and K-State make the right decision to part ways with their upperclassmen proven starter for their younger unproven, potential superstar. And that was after Jackson Arnold and Avery had one game of struggles. And I think, I at some point, I think those guys have to revisit those articles and say, yeah, maybe OU made the wrong decision, but I think we can look at it and feel very, very strongly that we made the right decision. Avery is the best guy for this football team. He's the best guy for the future of this football program, and I don't think anybody should have an ounce of doubt that we held on to the right guy, the guy who's going to help us win the most football games, and the guy who's going to be the best option for Kansas State. So. Just wanted to throw that plug in there as well. Just that, hey, we got to feel really good about who we've got running the show for this offense for hopefully the next year, 2, 3 years.
Well, absolutely. It's a great reminder. Engineered a game-winning drive, as I mentioned earlier, something that hasn't been done a lot at Kansas State under Chris Klieman in that situation where, makes a mistake, has the interception in a fourth down situation and bounces right back. I think that shows a ton of evolution and growth just to his game in a matter of 3 to 4 weeks. He's going to continue to evolve and make plays like that. So I think that's a good shout out. And Brent Venables looks pretty foolish right now for the decision he made on Jackson Arnold doing what he did. I mean, that Oklahoma offense is a nightmare.
And, again, it's you never know the decisions. And obviously Dylan Gabriel, I think is a really good college quarterback, but I don't think there was a whole lot of reason to believe that Jackson Arnold wasn't going to have the same type of success that Avery's having. Now, obviously, just like us, they're going through a coordinator transition, and you see, we lose Colin Klein to Texas A&M and promote Connor Riley, bring in Matt Wells. They lose Jeff Levy to Mississippi State, bring in Seth Luttrell, and so I think there's another example of maybe Jackson Arnold's and now the other kid, the true freshman. Maybe some of their struggles are because they don't have the right guy at coordinator. And I think just that it, on the same token as, hey, we should feel assured that we have the right guy at quarterback. I think through 6 games, we should feel very, very good about the decision that we made at offensive coordinator. Connor Riley, Matt Wells, they're doing an excellent job. They've made immense strides already in this season. They're putting us in the right positions. They're putting us in positions to win. And so, I think December 6th of last year when Colin left and all the other hoopla kicked off, that there was worry about Avery leaving and how are we going to replace Colin? And I think fast forward 10 and a half months, and you got to feel really good about where things are at Kansas State right now and what the future of this program looks like because of the decisions that were made about a year ago.
Absolutely. And I'm just looking at points per drive right now for K-State. They've continued to really soar up the rankings and points per drive nationally over the last few weeks, now at 2.83, which is number 30 in the country. But just 3 weeks ago, I think they were in the 60s or 50s in the country in points per drive. The offense continues to evolve the last 2 games, 3.5 points per drive with Oklahoma State in this one. Offense continues to get better. And look, you already mentioned it. I mean, K-State, Colorado was only allowing 1.7 points per drive going into that game. K-State had 3.44 against, so they doubled the season average that Colorado gave up. It is an improved Colorado defense. That is to be fair after watching them. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a good call out as well. Appreciate Curry. It's an extra long show, but we had a lot to run through. So, Curry, I'm sorry for keeping you so
It's
long,
all good. We're good.
Appreciate
always fun to talk about a win.
Yeah, it's better to talk about a win and spend a little extra time doing that. So appreciate Curry. As always, appreciate Nick Springer behind the scenes producing the show and hanging in there with us as always. And appreciate our sponsors as always for supporting us. Holiday Distillery. Go support them. Get some Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon. Riverbank Brewing and Council Grove, great partners as well. Go out there, support another great locally owned business. Support all the businesses supporting Wildcat NIL as well over at catsnil.com. Alenco for all your premier home improvement needs, owned by great K-Staters. And then also, obviously, Homefield Apparel. Get over to homefieldapparel.com. 3-mall-24. Score 15% off your entire order. For Curry Sexton and Nick Springer behind the scenes producing the show, I'm Cole Manbeck. Thank you for listening to another episode of 3 Mall.